Caseworker Responsibility and Credit Reports for Youth in Foster Care by Veronica, Deenanath, and Virginia Zuiker. By the end of this lesson, we would like for you to understand the role of the state and federal government with regards to foster youth credit reports, responsibilities of the counties and tribes, local agencies, if there is a credit report for a foster youth, and how to correct an erroneous credit issue on behalf of a minor child. Credit history should not exist for minor youth because they cannot legally sign a contract or apply for credit on their own. What's interesting is that children are becoming the prime target for predators because children under age 18 should have a clean credit, meaning no history, and there is a possibility that the identity fraud will go unchecked for years. In addition, the Federal Trade Commission has reported that up to 21% of consumers had verified errors in their credit reports, with 5% of the errors serious enough to not just change their credit score, but also to change their class of credit risk. The Minnesota Department of Human Services responsibilities is that the state will solicit credit report requests for foster youth ages 16 and 17. Credit history should not exist for a minor youth, and the state will notify counties or tribal agencies when a credit report exists for a youth. The state recommends a Children's Justice Initiative or Child Protection Team from each county or tribal agency develop protocols for responding to cases where it appears that identity theft has occurred. Why is this necessary? Federal legislation was passed in 2011, the Child and Family Services Improvement and Innovation Act, Public Law 112-34, passed September 2011, requires that the state must determine if a consumer credit report exists for each child age 16 and older annually until discharge from foster care. In Minnesota, the Department of Human Services, DHS, has issued a bulletin that outlines caseworkers' responsibility in interpreting the credit report and resolving any inaccuracies. Counties and tribes are also responsible for assisting foster youth ages 18 and older in obtaining their credit report. More on how to do this for older youth will be discussed later in this module. Again, the legislation requires that the state must determine if a consumer credit report, if such a report exists for each child age 16 and older annually until discharge from foster care. Youth must be assisted in interpreting the credit report and resolving any inaccuracies. If a credit report exists for the foster youth, the local agency is required to pursue the credit issue with a credit reporting agency. The caseworker should assist the youth in understanding why the information should be removed from their record. Counties and tribes also have a responsibility to assist foster care youth age 18 and older to obtain a credit report and to assist them in interpreting it and resolving any inaccuracies. DHS will notify counties and tribes if a credit report exists for a youth ages 16 or 17. A module was created for foster youth to understand the importance of credit reports, FICO scores, building credit, and the 5 common credit mistakes. To learn more about these topics, it's strongly recommended that you watch this module before assisting foster youth with credit report issues. You can click on this link, Understanding Credit, an online training for youth and foster care, to get easy access to the module. Let's watch this video where a caseworker is meeting with the foster youth and checking on their knowledge about money management, credit, and credit reports. The caseworker explains there is a credit report in the youth's name and what the agency will do to remove it or the error.
How are you?
Hello.
Thank you for coming to meet with me. As you recalled, there were some things we wanted to talk about before you leave foster care, or even if you want to stay until you're 18 or older, through 21. One of them is money management and understanding credit.
Okay.
The state now checks to see if there are credit reports for children in foster care, ages 18 and younger. Because there shouldn't be a credit report on you unless there's a mistake or someone has used your credit. Did you have a chance to look at the module online that talks about credit?
I looked at it. I didn't quite really understand it, but I know it's really important, so I can like eventually build my credit and get an apartment or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The state did receive a credit report in your name, so we need to follow up with that. It could be just a mistake or some kind of error, but we need to know what's going on and to find out why you have a credit history. Have you ever applied for credit?
No, I shouldn't have a credit history.
Okay. First, we will tell the credit reporting agency in writing about the inaccuracies and send them copies of your actual identity documents. We let them know that we have the authority to take care of this for you.
Okay.
If it's just an error, that should clear it all up. But let me know if you have any questions, and maybe you want to watch the video again to help you understand more about the credit report.
Okay.
Legislation passed in 2011 requiring that agencies ensure that the foster care youth 18 and older annually receive at no cost to them their credit report and assistance in interpreting and resolving any inaccuracies in it. This is part of their independent living plan. Because they are age 18 or older, agencies should follow procedures for obtaining credit reports for adults and select the option to receive reports from all three credit reporting agencies, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. If there are inaccuracies in the report or identity theft fraud, you should follow the procedures for resolving these problems. Local agencies should also explain to the youth about money management, credit reports, and the importance of good credit to their future. You should encourage the youth to watch the training module, Understanding Credit, and online training for youth in foster care. Remember, counties and tribes are also responsible to assist youth age 18 and older. Agencies and youth request their free annual credit report at www.annualcreditreport.com. You should document if the youth refuses to cooperate and assist the youth in interpreting the report and disputing and resolving inaccuracies. Identity theft is when someone uses your personal information, such as your name, social security number, birth date, without your permission. Your stolen information can be used to open credit cards, steal cash, rent an apartment, or live under a false identity. An excellent resource to check out is the Federal Trade Commission's website on identity theft. Let's watch a video that the Federal Trade Commission has produced on identity theft.
Identity theft happens. It's an unfortunate fact of modern life. But there are certain steps you can take to help keep your personal information from falling into the wrong hands. Every day you do things to protect what's most important to you. And you know what? You do them almost automatically. Routine things like looking both ways before you cross, brushing your teeth, and buckling your seatbelt. Another routine to get into is keeping tabs on your identity and personal information. Here are 5 easy ways you can do it. Read your credit card and bank statements carefully and often. Know your payment due dates. If a bill doesn't show up when you expect it, look into it. Read the statements from your health insurance plan. Make sure the claims paid match the care you got. Shred any documents with personal and financial information. Review each of your 3 credit reports at least once a year. It's easy and it's free. And before you know it, protecting your personal information can be as routine as locking your doors at night. For more tips and tools on dealing with identity theft, visit ftc.gov/ID theft. That's ftc.gov/ID theft.
Foster youth are a vulnerable population when it comes to identity theft. Foster youth typically have a clean credit history, so they can easily be taken advantage of. They may become victims due to the behaviors of people who care for them, such as relatives or care providers that have access to their information. Many times these youth do not know that they are victims until they are adults and are ready to start building credit, and then it may be too late, since damage to their credit history has already occurred. A survey of California foster youth found that about 5% of the pilot sample had several separate accounts in their names that occurred because of errors or identity theft. The average account balance was $1,811. It had been open for 2 or 3 years on average, and these accounts were open when the youth were on average 14 years old. Anyone under the age of 18 should not have a credit report, whether they are a foster youth or not. If someone is an authorized user, that account will show up on their credit report. Minors are not supposed to have credit history because they do not have the legal capacity to sign a contract or apply for credit on their own. If they do have a credit history, it may be due to error, fraud, or identity theft. Newly emancipated youth have to face a daunting task of fixing their credit history ruined by identity theft. Victims may be denied credit, student loans, housing, or jobs due to no fault of their own. Foster youth may not have the safety net of parental support. Chances of a success in life is diminished for foster youth who are victims if the problem is not fixed in time. What is the impact of youth identity theft? The actual impact is unknown at a national level, but the concern to protect foster youth is growing as they are increasingly the target of identity theft. There is no national data on how many youth are affected, but studies are underway. Many states are conducting their own studies. Many states are passing their own legislation to protect these youth. In this interview, the caseworker talks about the existence of a credit report for the client and its importance, and what the agency will do to pursue the issue. At this point, it could be an error or a more serious issue, which the agency will discover with a follow-up to the credit reporting agency.
So after checking your credit report, there's more than just an error on your credit history. Yeah. So it seems someone was able to get a credit card and get a phone contract using your credit information.
How could that be if I've never had a credit card or a charge account?
Some people use other people's information like social security number and other personal information to get phone contracts, to rent an apartment, to get utilities turned on. So that's how they...
How do they get that information?
There are different ways people can get your information, by someone from a school, a social worker, someone you know, or if you've lost your wallet or purse. They can get that information like that. And sometimes people use kids' credit because they have a clean slate.
So what could I do to get that checked
To
out?
get it cleared?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll follow up with the credit reporting agency, and what I'll do is I'll send this report and your identifying documents to the agency to start the process. They will do an investigation, and then they'll put a fraud alert on your credit history account.
Well, what's a fraud alert?
A fraud alert is where I'll ask one of the credit reporting agencies to put an alert on your account. They'll call the other two, they'll inform the other two agencies, and it prevents anybody else from getting credit in your name, because that person will have to be asked for identification. And so, because it's not you, they can't.
Oh, like identity theft, right?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And it's free for 90 days. And after 90 days, if you still want it on your credit history or report, then we just ask them to extend it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, will this person go to jail?
I can't answer that question, but it's not necessary to go to the police. The credit agency can take care of it, and you don't necessarily have to press charges.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really want to go to the police because, I don't know, it might be like my foster mom or someone. I'm not too sure who it could be, but yeah.
Right. Well, what would you do if you knew the person that
Well,
used your credit?
it depends on who it is. Like, if it was my mom, then I would probably want to just talk to her. Whether it was my mom or my foster mom, yeah. So it really just depends on who the person is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have to make a decision right now. You can think about it. We can revisit this and talk about it at another time.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Yeah, I don't want to.
I know, it'd be hard to have your mom arrested, and I understand.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to let you know that if we don't get this cleared up now by talking with the credit report agencies, bad credit will follow you forever until it's cleared up, basically. So that's why we want to get it off your credit report so then you can start.
Yeah, I definitely don't want a bad credit report. So what do I need to do?
You don't need to do anything right now. I will help. I will work with the credit agency and turn in this document and your identification documents and have them work on it.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay?
Yep.
Counties are tribal agencies' responsibilities. If a youth has a credit history due to inaccurate information or misspellings, there are ways to have inaccuracies removed without cost. See the information on the Federal Trade Commission website. Once you open up the Federal Trade Commission website using the URL provided, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see a sample dispute letter. You will find a sample dispute letter to send to the credit reporting company so that you can document in writing what information you think is inaccurate. Include copies, not the originals, of documents that support your position. Clarify that the person involved is a minor, thus cannot be legally entered into a contract. To prove that the child is a minor, send a copy of the child's birth certificate or other documentation of age, such as a court order, and a letter asking them to remove all account application inquiries and collection notices from the credit report associated with the child's name or personal information. Documentation may also be needed to verify that the youth is in foster care and the agency is authorized to act on the youth's behalf. Credit reporting companies must investigate the items in question, usually within 30 days. They also must forward all the relevant data you provide about the inaccuracy to the organization that provided the information. After the information provider receives notice of a dispute from the credit reporting company, it must investigate, review the relevant information, and report the results back to the credit reporting company. If the information provider finds the disputed information is inaccurate, it must notify all 3 nationwide credit reporting companies so they can correct the information in the foster care's youth file. Contact information for credit reporting agencies. As you know, there are 3 credit reporting agencies where our information is sent to. These agencies are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. The steps that can be taken to protect foster youth from further exploitation are outlined on the Federal Trade Commission's website. If there is an issue that needs to be pursued legally, the county or tribe should refer it to the proper law enforcement agency of their county or tribe. In order to clear their credit report of inaccuracies and/or fraud, the resolution will take phone calls and letters and require you to create a system to organize your papers and calls and to track deadlines. The important thing for the youth is to be able to eventually establish their own credit history and that they are protected from further exploitation. Contact each of the 3 credit reporting companies directly to place a freeze. The credit reporting companies may ask for proof of the child's Social Security number, proof that you are legally able to represent and/or are the child's legal representative, and a copy of the child's birth certificate. Putting a freeze on a minor's credit report can be a useful deterrent to additional fraud. Important to note, if you place a freeze on the youth's credit report, the freeze must be uplifted before the youth applies for any form of credit such as loans or apartments. Once 18, the youth can ask to lift the freeze themselves. It is not necessary to file a police report. It's not necessary to press charges against someone, even if a police report is filed. Counties, tribal agencies need to respond to criminal issues while also assisting the youth to restore and protect their future credit prior to discharge from foster care. Typically, adults must file a police report about identity theft before they can use certain legal remedies to clear a credit report. However, the credit reporting agencies do not require a police report in order to do an investigation of an erroneous credit report. Charges against a perpetrator do not need to be filed if a police report is made. It may be important to consider filing a police report because there may be other instances of identity theft to be resolved. In the case where it is clear that identity theft has occurred, it is important to discuss the situation with the youth and explain the consequences if their credit history were not corrected. It is important to note that there are a number of remedies and not all of them require identification and prosecution of the guilty party. If it is beyond the expertise of agency staff to assist the youth with further counseling, DHS recommends consulting with a guardian ad litem to determine if they can be of assistance and/or refer the youth to a reputable counseling agency in the community. A good resource is Lutheran Social Service, which has credit counseling services in 8 Minnesota communities. Discussion of the efforts of the agency, any results, feelings of the youth about the identity theft, and more information or referrals the youth may need.
Hello.
I just wanted to talk to you about how it's going with your credit report. And the fraud alert is put on so nobody else can get credit under your name. And but unfortunately we won't know who was trying to use your credit.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay. So what I want to do now is just to make sure you have an understanding about the credit report and what we do now. So now that you will have a clean slate, you can check your credit report once you're 18. It's free every year, once a year, and you go to www.annualcreditreport.com. Also, there's people at Lutheran Social Services, LSS, that can help you, credit counselors. You can talk to your guardian ad litem, myself. You can go back online and look at that module, just so you have an understanding of the credit report and to make sure that nobody else can get credit under your name.
Okay. Wow. All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
At this time, you should understand the role of the state and federal government with regards to foster youth credit reports, the responsibilities of the counties and tribes if there is a credit report for a foster youth, and how to correct an erroneous credit issue on behalf of a foster child. Here are some additional resources that you may want to take a closer look at. The Federal Trade Commission Consumer Information, the United States Department of Justice, Children's Law Center of Minnesota, Child Identity Theft Information for Foster Youth, and the Annie E. Casey Foundation. Counties or tribal agencies' responsibilities. If a credit report exists for the foster youth, the local agency is required to pursue the credit issue with the credit reporting agency, as explained below. The caseworker should assist the youth in understanding why the information should be removed from their record. County and tribes also have responsibility to assist foster care youth age 18 and older to obtain a credit report and to assist them in interpreting it and resolving any inaccuracies. DHS will notify counties and tribes if a credit report exists for minors, youth ages 16 or 17.